ahead and get started.
Yeah.
We got Nate Meraz with us here today.
Superintendent extraordinaire.
Yes.
Right.
Since you're new to the podcast, could you give us kind of like a little bit of your background in coaching and your journey here in Elgin, as it comes to being the superintendent?
Sure. Graduated out of Cameron University and with a history degree and started coaching immediately there at Lawton High School. Was the head baseball coach and assistant football coach. Clarence Madden was the head coach. Next year, so my second year there, Curtis Laura arrives. He had already been coaching there. He'd gone down to Temple, Texas, and come back. So he was my assistant in baseball, and then of course he went on and rose to the offensive coordinator job there at Lawton High. I had the chance to coach some good kids there. Antonio Perkins, also Poe Guy. Ryan Breeze was one of our players. His dad, Randy, was the offensive coordinator early on. So really a good group of coaches to learn from. And boy, just when you're young, you just looking back on it,
right.
You just think, my goodness, some of the things you may have thought or said or even done. And, so it's good to have those, a mixture of some older coaches that are there to mentor and all that. And so let's see. From there, my friend Adrian Wiggins was out in Fresno, California at Fresno State women's basketball. I went out there for a couple of years and did the director of operations job out there.
Wow. Okay.
Fresno State women's basketball. Real fun experience, great time. Always joke and say Hawaii was in our conference, so we had to go to Hawaii. Had to go there.
Not a bad road trip.
Right. That was when Fresno State was in the WAC and the Western Athletic Conference. So, Hawaii was a trip. And so good experience there. But my wife is from Cordell. I'm from Lawton. And so we wanted to get back closer. It's too many parties and stuff, birthday parties and stuff that you miss. I have 4 brothers. She has a big family as well. So Curtis Laura was now the head coach at Elgin. Wow. And so by this time. And so we're talking and he says, well, come back here and coach and teach. And so I did. And I was the assistant coach here for football, basketball, and baseball.
Oh, wow.
And it's kept me busy and taught a little bit of history. And then got into administration. I got my degree there. So I went and was the Fletcher Elementary principal, Cash High School principal, and then came back as the assistant superintendent under Mr. Crimmins. Did that 3 years, and now I've been the superintendent for 9. This is my 9th year as superintendent. Great. I've always been in Comanche County, grew up here, love it. Elgin's just a great community. So happy to be here, and it's just been a good experience, good journey. As far as the coaching part of it, that coaching experience here at Elgin was just tremendous. It's a lot different when you're an assistant, and so you get to just observe so much, and so just got to know the town, and of course we coached Chalmer Wyatt during that time, and it's funny, you do think about while you're doing this, you do start to get in your head some kids that, could come back and coach. I mean, it's really a thought process. I know that you probably do that. And, you're out there and you go, this kid's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he can come back. He's always asking the right questions about the game. He's for sure a gamer, Chalmer, and competitor. And, of course, his dad coached.
Right.
And so, it's one that you're always watching. And then, getting into administration, you got some ups and downs. And so we had gotten to the point where we moved on from Coach Renshaw, and that part, all those things are just truthfully, you have to say, just part of the deal and no hard feelings. Right. I know there's always some hard feelings about change and all that, but
that was just a 1 year deal, wasn't it?
2 years.
Okay, 2 years. Okay.
And it's just golly, you just think, where are we heading? What are we going to do next? And Coach Renshaw's a good coach and a good person. And so, but then it just immediately, I literally just said, it's time to look for somebody who's, I guess you're not supposed to say these things when you hire people, all those rules,
Right,
Don't ask them how old they are.
Right.
Don't ask them what religion they are, that you could be discriminated against. Well, I thought we needed some youth. We needed somebody energetic. And he just, we'd always been watching him. And he'd come back here and coached, obviously, and then gone off to Noble.
Right.
And so I just called him and said, hey, I want you to come coach, and how can we work this out? And Chalmers always real measured. He's like, oh, I appreciate that. I need to think about all this and, the right things. And so, we got him here. And we got him here in May. He was able to come on. His superintendent was former coach, and Solomon. His last name is Solomon. And so he let Chalmer come. We worked out something.
Right.
And he came, and we put him on those last couple of weeks as the head coach there, and he got to do spring ball, and had a promising first year, and then I don't know if the 20 year was his second year or not, but COVID and all that.
Yeah, kind of threw everybody for a
and
loop.
Galilee, and but I will just tell you, there was not a thought of anything different. I mean, we obviously didn't win a game that year.
Right.
Made the playoffs, of course.
Everybody did.
We were 0-8. We're going to state. That's the mantra, because we had 2 games canceled. Y'all may remember. I don't remember which ones we had to cancel against a couple of opponents because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so anyway, not a thought about that. Just we knew he's surrounding himself with good people. Good coaches. We do have a good mixture of some experience and then some young kids. Cody Rao adds a great dimension as the head wrestling coach. I mean, those. I don't know if people believe in that, but to me, they go hand in hand. I mean, that's the kind of attitude you need out there.
Yeah, we've talked about that over the podcast. Yeah. I mean, having a good wrestling program does lead into success on the football thing. And
I think so.
I mean, I think that does play a huge role into it.
It's such a unique sport. It's you and the other guy out there, and you're going to just go at it for 3, sessions and see who can win. That's got to be translated somehow onto a football field.
Yeah, no, it definitely has been.
But anyway, and so now here we are, and my goodness, when that 5A came out the first year, I was like everybody else. I was never, we're scared, but you always want to be measured, because don't build up things. Just tell people, we're interested. It'll be interesting, and some of that was true. I just wasn't sure, about the speed and all this stuff. But man, here we are. Our toughness, we play with we are a physical football team.
Yeah.
I know y'all know that, but I tell people that. We're hard hitting. Our speed is right there with everybody.
Yeah.
We got a coach's son at quarterback, Trace, he's doing a good job. It has been impressive, how we have I start to think about things like our career record version. Well, what's your career record in 5A? Well, now against 5A opponents.
It's pretty good.
14-2 or something.
Right.
Or somewhere in there. And it's just amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm so proud of the group. The assistant coaches are wonderful as well. I mean, it's a good group.
Well, it's been a good time to be an Owl all around. I mean, last year, we had success, obviously, in football. Wrestling wins state. Softball does great.
It is.
And then, baseball goes to state as well. Talk about kind of how that, as a superintendent, kind of helps community spirit, and how all that kind of plays into things.
It's a great point to bring up, is just when things are going well in your extracurriculars, it just matters.
You mentioned the band. That's 11 years in a row.
The band is tremendous. Our ag department is tremendous. We got something for everybody. Our theater group is good. Growing. They're doing great things. They put on some wonderful plays. We got that Performing Arts Center. All that stuff matters.
Right.
Don't y'all agree that? So, because you guys may have been that way, and we're all that way somewhat. It's what keeps you coming. With all due respect to all of our teachers who really just get in there and do a great job, it'd be a unique case for a kid to say, boy, I can't wait to wake up and go do some biology and all that. It's just kind of what you do.
Right.
You're a kid. you're growing up, you go to school. It's all the extracurriculars. And I think teachers who aren't involved in extracurriculars appreciate that as well. It gives them a little something to hang over them and say, boy, you got to get in here and do well in biology. You know? They don't realize it, but those kids are soaking in that knowledge, in those classrooms. And they're there maybe waiting for that day of practice, but they're getting exposed to all that knowledge. So, to your point, yes, the extracurriculars, the fact that we're doing so well, we're a growing community. I think we are a safe community that also values discipline and respect. I mean, I do hear, kid, this happened to Lawton and he didn't get that harsh of a punishment. Just take it and work with us. Your kid will be better for it. We don't want that. We expect certain behaviors out here, and I do believe that our parents support us in that. An orderly operation means a lot, to parents, and that we're not perfect at all. We got problems like everybody does, but I will say that we expect a level of behavior out here, and I hope people appreciate that. It matters.
Well, when you're dealing with 4 to 18-year-olds, you're always going to have some sort of problem
all the time.
No matter what's going on, whether it be the school side of things or
Coach Beaton's in there in what the traditional, whatever you call it, ISS, ISD, in-house, whatever. Well, that's a worthy cause because it's a corrective measure. I mean, people come in there and they have a choice to make. They can get better or they can get bitter. But, knowing that, that's always been a place where most of our kids get in there and you're going to take your lumps, you're going to come out. It serves a purpose for us because we always want to get them back in the regular classes, and I know you see that. I mean, it's a part of helping kids grow up.
Yeah, you kind of read my mind. That's what I was going to say. Like when you start talking about the teachers, they understand the aspect of that. And a lot of teachers, they will send their kids to me, go see Coach Bean, you know what I mean? And me being able to have that relationship with the athletes and stuff like that. And even the kids are not athletes.
Yeah, that's right.
What I tried to explain to athletes is whether you like it or not, people are going to look up to you. You know what I mean? So if you're interacting like a weirdo or jackwagon, whatever.
Then a kid's going to follow you.
Other people's going to follow you. You know what I mean? So it's very important that you set the example for them. You know what I mean?
It is. It's, it's maybe unwanted, but it comes with territory, especially when we're doing good. I mean, there's kids looking up to them, and that does matter. And, like I said, it's... But back to your point, it's just been a great time here, and I think we're in a nice time in Elgin, growth, and those kind of problems are good problems to have when you're growing.
Well, and then a lot of, kind of to piggyback off the extracurricular side of things, a lot of the kids are still young too.
Yeah, they are.
So you still get a decent amount of them when you start looking at. We got some good seniors.
There's some good seniors, that's for sure.
But you start looking and you go, this run could last a little while.
And I think it does. That success rolls over into things where people desire to be here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like I said, absolutely no disrespect. Because we've been there when we're not having success. So call it what it is. We've now beat Lawton MacArthur 2 years in a row. That's awesome. Right. That is a great program.
Yeah.
Coach Manning and all them do a great job. God, we talk about veteran coaches, Coach Holmes. Those guys have been there forever. They do a very good job. They have very good football teams. The fact that we're able to say we beat them in consecutive years, and the fact that, like I said, not at all to get into could we have beat, someone said that, could you have beat the other Lawton teams? Well, my answer to that is obviously going to be, I believe so. We have a very good team.
Right.
Now, I don't know that. That's why you would go play. Now, I mean, you go out on that field and they may rise up and punch you in the nose.
Right.
But we love that. That's why we want to be in those conversations, and in the past, we just weren't quite there. Not through any fault of coaching or anything. This school was not quite there. Well, all of a sudden, we get there. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but this is how social media works. My son says, Dad, look at this kid that posted this, that his dad's PCS to Fort Sill. And he's a football player and plays this and that. And he had mentioned that he was coming to Elgin High School, and I don't know. just however many years ago, would a kid have gone, well, I'm moving to that area. I might choose one of these schools to go to. We're getting that now. And I think that just kind of the fun part of success. Everyone should enjoy success while it's there. Success may come and go, so you enjoy it while it's here. You don't make it change your personality. You don't make it where you're gloating or this way or that, because things change. And, as the NFL coaches say, you're, a couple of injuries away from things not working like you thought, whatever.
Right.
But it's certainly worth enjoying while we're here. And I do believe that we are in the right position to sustain this. We've got a great coaching staff, a great school system, great teachers. Great community. Yeah. My goodness. People say that, they say, boy, they're so support. They cannot believe the amount of support we have.
Right.
And I think those Midwest City, y'all probably didn't go through the gate we did at Midwest City, but they made compliments about, boy, y'all bring a crowd, and you really got some vocal people, and they were so polite to us up there.
Right.
And but I do think they were a little bit like, you're bringing how many buses, and you're expecting how many people?
A lot of the road
games, showing.
And a lot of the road games we've had this year. I mean, you look down, and a lot of times we're on the home side, so we can look out and kind of see what's going on across the way. And then you go down at halftime, or you kind of look down underneath the box and you go, we may have more people here than the home side.
Don't you think that last week? I really do believe that.
That helps. I mean, it helps not only the community as far as that goes, but it helps players on the field, it helps coaches and things like that. Because everybody's behind us. This is a big deal for not only us as kids, but for our parents and for everybody else. So, hopefully we fill the place. I have no doubt we will.
I agree. And the last game,
MacArthur,
it was loud.
And it was loud.
I don't recall thinking to myself, I coached those years at Lawton High, and there's been some loud ones for sure. Coach Madden, like I said, head coach there, and Coach Breeze, offensive coordinator. We went to the semis twice, so there's no doubt we were good football teams, but I don't know. This was just loud last week. It was loud. I couldn't believe it.
And to kind of talk about that, talk about the importance of, for a school system, for a community, having a home playoff game. I know last year we had one, didn't end the way we wanted it to, so hopefully this one could end better this year. And then we get another one the week after if we were able to take care of it. Talk about the importance for that.
I think it's so important. Number one, you want to get into all of it. Just let's look at it, from a city of Elgin standpoint. I bet Piedmont brings a pretty good crowd. Right. So there's some business coming into the community. All the fast food places should be on notice. That, I know it's hard to find help these days, but if they can beef up and be ready for crowds, there's going to be crowds coming in looking for places to eat, fueling up their cars. So city sales tax wise, that's worth mentioning. It's a good thing to happen. It puts us in people's thought processes about good schools, and someone says, we're moving down. My brother got a job down at Comanche County Memorial. Where should he go to school? Well, we were just down at Elgin last week, and man, it was a vibrant community. That helps, And so it's a chance to show off a little bit and provide good, hospitality. I think it is a boon economically to the community. But more importantly, it's the ease of, aren't y'all already feeling this? I'm like, just going to drive up to the stadium this week. It's the comfort of home. Right. It's the comfort of home. The kids will get their pregame meal, and they're not off kilter. On the road, you've got to plan all this out and be careful about, are you there too early? Right. Someone might have a tiny visiting locker room. You don't want them in there for too long. You got to think of all that. Now we're at home. And so the crowd's going to be there. People that would ordinarily say, I just can't make it to the game, they're like, I can make it to this one. Right. And so it's hard to overstate what it means. It's tremendous, and it's well earned. And like you said, if we can take care of business, we get another one. Right. And then strategically, the next one, if you can take care of business, they're neutral sites. Yeah. And so then we got to ask everybody to travel. That's and make it a home game. And our people will, of course. But,
well, it's good to show off the field house, the stadium, all that's part of it. Because there's places we go sometimes that have nice facilities, and then there's places we go sometimes too, and you're going,
understandably,
wow.
That's right.
So talk about how all that kind of comes into play too with the bonds and things like that, and the importance of all that part.
So we passed the bond, and we were able to get some real nice facilities for our activities. That Performing Arts Center is just awesome. The home side football stadium is awesome. Our field house is just tremendous. We were able to turf the field. We're able to get to where we need to be, so that's not even a consideration for people. It's like, oh, this is nice. Of course, our visiting side needs work. That was just a simple issue of can't get blood out of a turnip type deal. It's like at some point we had to draw the line and use our construction dollars on something. That's down the road at some point. The thought process, of course, as you know, is even your consistent visitors only come once every other year.
Right.
So they're okay. They got their own set of restrooms. They got their own concession over there. We stay separate from them. So it's adequate for sure. We'd like to beef it up. But I think that pride does come into play. Kids can feel good about it. It's unfortunate. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes we're too soft on kids, right? Today, it's not the end of the world. But I like old Mike Simpson up there at Guthrie, the superintendent. He used to coach at Apache basketball years ago. He's just a good guy. But I was watching, checked out a little bit of the Carl Albert Guthrie game that was on the Oklahoma Sports Network. And they've got your old school stadium. It looked like the baseball field was built into the stadium.
Right.
But guess what? They're a fabulous football team.
Right.
As we experienced last year. So hopefully that makes us appreciate it. It is nice to have good things. We have a real supportive, growing community. And there's talk of a solar panel farm coming in on Trail Road, and we're anxiously watching that. And the reason that's impactful is because if they add so much value, your valuation goes up because of their equipment and all their things there. Then look at passing a bond issue and selling it to the patrons of, hey, it'll only increase your taxes like 1%, because really the burden's being carried by the new guys on the block. They got so much equipment that's valued at this much. So that's important. Those things are important. Yeah. That's the other reason you want to have a safe, vibrant community, is because if we can get businesses in here and industry, they share that tax burden.
Right.
And so, that's a big part of this too. And so we're watching that. We'll be able to put in some nice school buildings and still continue some things with our extracurriculars, and those planning things are headaches and all that. But like I said, that's a good problem to have. Boy, you'd much rather be doing that than worrying about, some poor people out there are worried about cutting positions and things, Right. Boy, we got to get rid of a couple of teachers' assistants or something. It's tough times. We're growing, and so we're fortunate in that. We're trying to figure out the other end of it, how to keep up.
Right. So, and that, like you said, that's a better problem to have than the alternative.
Sure.
When it comes to the admin side of things, how much of an impact did your coaching lead into that when it comes to admin and being the superintendent?
I think it helps so much. When you've coached, and I'll say in charge of programs, so all that due respect to our ag teachers, because they're putting kids in vehicles, they're responsible for them, they're traveling overnight with them, they're dealing with upset parents. And our drama, Mrs. Diley's, she has to choose who's going to get the lead in that play. When you've had to get some blowback on those things, that helps you so much as an administrator. And age, of course. You get older, you have your own kids to draw off of, what it's like, And so all that helps, but the coaching definitely helps. You've seen the sides of, you've had to bark at people, you've had to be a little more diplomatic with people, you've had to deal with the most upset parent, or even a quote crazy parent that that you need to learn how to deal with that. So it definitely helps. It helps tremendously. Those times coaching, it's like all of us, all those experiences make you who you are. But I really can appreciate those years coaching and having to make tough decisions and getting yelled at by people and getting this and that. It just helps. It just makes you who you are,
right.
You grow up and you learn to deal with things, and you learn to deal with failures and all that, So
speaking of growing up and, dealing with certain stuff, I just happen to go to the same church as you do.
Yeah.
And the connection, how did that play into being in the high school gym.
That's simple. Richy Large, we've known, Richy coached at Rush Springs. He was always involved in FCA. His dad was a coach at Cameron University football in the old days.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Farrell Large, great guy. And just so you know, Curtis Irwin, they had, back when that place flooded at Crossroads, they used our Fine Arts Center, the old Fine Arts Center, for a while while they were getting on their feet. They're all nonprofit organizations. They're not out to make money. They're out to impact people in a positive way. Their mission, of course, is a whole different mission. I mean, Richy is, his mission is to try and get people to come to Christ, and I've told him this, as a Christian who's in charge of a public school, I still have to be the level-headed person and say, when it's school-wise, out of respect for everybody, we may have kids of all kinds of different religions there. But the one thing that the one thing that those groups have in common is they want positive interactions for kids, and we can all get behind that.
Right. Yeah.
So they rent that facility from us at a cost that's fair, but there's just some intrinsic value to having good vibes on campus. I mean, people that are, how much the church helps us. All of our churches help us. Our banks help us. If the bank for some reason needed to use the facility, I mean, we've had people doing yoga lessons up there. I mean, just things that are good for communities. And that Connections Church is just, it's just a bunch of, as you would expect, good people. And so we're happy that they're able to get in there. I know that Richy has his eyes on the project of getting them out of there, like everybody would. But they're of no, they clean up after themselves. They're good, users of our facilities. And like I said, it's a nonprofit organization using another nonprofit organization's facility on a day when it's not used. I mean, and so that, to me, you feel good about helping people out and helping community. Doesn't it make it? I think that's what we were all talking about. It's a
win-win for everybody.
Community and all that. I mean, we're surrounded, like any community, we're surrounded by churches. St. Anne's is across the street. The Methodist Church is just right across the street to the west. The Assembly of God to the south, with Larry Toma there. Dusty Devers, his church there is a Grace Fellowship. They're right there, catty corner to the gym. They allow us to use their parking on overflow nights. I mean, that's how it should be, and they're all so respectful of, they're going to try and win souls on their time and all that, but they do ask for help in the elementary parts of this, the operations, and we're happy to help on that. Anybody who's doing good for people, it's hard to go wrong on that. So that I think it just goes back to that.
I just think it's cool that Dak's got to grow up since he's been Elgin wrestling in that gym, getting baptized in wrestling. Baptism by fire on the wrestling mat. Baptized. Yeah, I love it. Dak's when we first, me and my daughter, we got baptized the same day, and we kind of had that conversation. I was like, son, I don't want you to do this just because I'm doing it. I want you to make sure you're doing it because you want to do it. Yeah. Once we moved to the gym. He decided it was his time. So,
well, it's a great, like I said, all those things where we can help. And, Mr. Crimmins was always, that's part of community. Mr. Crimmins, who I followed, he came out here from Lawton Schools. He was a Lawton Schools guy and coached in Lawton Schools as well. And this community, now consider when Mr. Crimmins came out of here, he moved out here in the early 70s. What a difference. Right. 2A school and all that. Yeah. He's just like, he always said that, try and maintain that small town feel, even though you're growing. Here's another thing we're saying. We offer every sport that the OSSA offers, so, the athletic side of that, we try and give them their options and all that. And so those activities people are drawn to. Yeah. Chance to get kids involved and all that. We can't do everything. We get requests all the time on things. But when, there's certain things that you just, can look at and say, is it healthy for the kids? And can we do this? And you try and do it,
When it comes to the OSSAA, how they choose like what class you're in, can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. At the end of the year, we fill out an annual statistical report. It's called the ASR. And that is
that's every year?
That's every year you do that. And you do it actually at the end of your first 9 weeks, called the first quarter statistical report. And then at the end of the year, your annual statistical report. And that takes your average daily membership into account. And so they'll take your number of days attended by your total attendance, how many kids are here for how this total days, divide it. That's your average daily membership throughout the year. And so that's why you'll see a decimal point on some of these things. You don't have
a point kid.
Yeah, you don't have 2/10 of a kid, If you did, you'd want it to be the athletic side or whatever. Hey, put him out on the field. But anyway, so the high school comes in at 778.2. And then they ask for everyone's, and they look at it. Football will do it every 2 years because they want you to get in that 2-year cycle of you host them, they host you. Basketball does it every year. So it can fluctuate. It's interesting. Volleyball does it every year. I think wrestling does it every 2 years. Different sports do it different ways, but so you turn in, and that's grades 9 through 12.
Okay.
Grades 9 through 12, what's your average daily membership? And they'll publicize that. The first 32 teams are 6A teams. Your next 32 are 5A. Your next 32 are 4A. Your next 30, and that's in football. In basketball, once you get down to 4A, they say the next 64 teams are all 4A because there's so many more teams play basketball. Not every team, not every school plays football.
Right.
And then you get into these weird things of, Santa Fe South Charter School doesn't want to play football this year. They can't do it. Guyman went independent this year.
Yeah.
So then you got to work all that out.
Yeah, because
what does that mean, independent?
Well, they're not in the district, so some districts only have 7, even though it's designed to have 8. I think the district that we're playing, the 5A1, 5A2, we're 5A1, 5A2, I think only has 7.
You're exactly right, and it's Guyman.
And Guyman's the kind of the odd man out.
So they're out there in that panhandle of Oklahoma. They may pick up a Kansas team, a Colorado team, or a Texas panhandle team and just say, I don't think they mean it this way, but we're playing for fun. They're probably serious about it, but we're not going to have a chance to go
travel to Cash or Woodward.
And the trade-off is we're not going to be able to play in the playoffs and all of that, And so they work through all those details. They also have to work through the private school rule, where if you've had success a certain amount of years, they'll bump you up a class. Yeah. And so, but the rule is no one will be bumped into 6A. I think they may change that this year. I don't know. But so like Bishop McGinnis at one time was 4A or whatever.
Yeah, but they won so much.
They won so much, you move them up. And so you deal with all those. It's kind of a weird process, but then they'll solidify it. They'll say, all right, here is your 32 teams in 5A. You try and get an even East-West split. That's why Dale City is in the East this year. You had to do some.
But next year they're coming here.
They are.
So next year the district's going to be completely different, even though we're only 3 years in.
That's right. In fact, let's see. How can I be, real but not hurt anyone's feelings about this? You say, let's see, who got out of our district? And I love Noble and all that, but I'm saying, oh, good, we got Dale City.
Noble, Altus, and Ardmore come out.
Yeah, but you always want to play the best.
Yeah, you do.
But Dale City's been so good.
Right.
So yes, all those things come into play, and so they literally look at your average daily membership, that number, and then they assign you into your. And I don't see us ever going back down. We continue to grow. And as a growing district, I think that what will happen is we'll continue to be in 5A. We'll probably see that growing schools like Newcastle, Blanchard, they'll probably come up. That means someone's got to move down, and that may be a school that's stagnant. Maybe a Oklahoma City South, and I'm just spitballing here. Maybe an Oklahoma City Southeast.
Yeah.
They didn't grow as much. They may have even lost some kids. And Newcastle gained 62 kids. They're going to move up. So that's what I look to happen on that.
So I know it's hard to predict the future and things like that, but as we sit here, probably not going down, but do you see a 6A anytime?
Boy, let's look at that. So, we were the last team or second to last team in this year in 5A, I believe, if I looked at it. So
Okay, so we got a ways.
So yes,
Okay.
the highest team. I'm going to throw a name out there who maybe dropped down. Maybe now Piedmont's moving up into 6A next year.
Midwest
City might be one of the larger ones.
Yeah,
I bet they have.
6 to 5.
I bet they have 1,200. What did you see their ADM?
I did not, but I believe that they were at 6, and I know they moved to 5. So that was one that I thought of.
6A.
So let's say that they have 1,200 kids in the high school.
Okay.
And here we are sitting at
6.
700 and something.
Okay.
We got a ways.
So we got a
to
ways.
go,
Okay.
you know?
Gotcha.
So I don't anticipate that real soon.
But like you said, I don't see us getting back to 4A2 with the way that we're.
All those
every
houses.
year, all the houses are built, and every year this is the biggest kindergarten class ever.
That's
it seems
right.
Like it's,
That's right.
So it's every year.
I
So.
believe it's safe to say, that we'll stay in 5A and continue on that path and keep trying to grow and develop some of those rivalries. As you know, or may not know, basketball went to districts this year for the first time ever.
Right.
Okay. So in the past, you just played who you wanted to in basketball. It's important to get into a conference so you can guarantee some games. This year, they assigned you districts like football. First time in memory, and we're probably accurate to say ever, that our basketball team will not play Cache or Anadarko. That's kind of strange,
right.
because they're 4A.
Right.
And so you lose a little bit of those rivalries.
Well, we talked a little bit about that during football with Anadarko. Yeah. After that game, we kind of figured that that's probably the last time we played
they may not,
for a while. Because it's hard for us to play a 3A school. We'll probably keep Cache for a little while since they're still just 4A. But
of course, your AD wants to consider gate. Hey, who'll bring a good crowd?
Right.
And that is a consideration on those games. But you're right. So think about that in basketball. We won't go. We won't go see Cache or Anadarko. That's kind of interesting. But you develop some rivalries with other schools, and all that. We're just not as close. We're not. There's an interstate separating us. It's an hour journey up to everybody. Cache was close. Anadarko was close. That was kind of.
Well, that's the weird part about kind of changing the districts every 2 years to me too. I mean, it's going to be hard to. Since we're so new to 5A, it's going to be hard for us to kind of get some of those rivalries outside of maybe MacArthur.
Yeah, and there's still don't kid yourself. There's some numbers and stats that go into that. Who's east, who's west, but then those coaches at the OCA at the clinic, they're going to get those results, and they get in there and don't think that they're not all politicking. Like, dude, there's no way you're not going to put Carl Albert and Dale City in our same district.
Right.
That's just natural.
Right.
There's some of that going on. And there is probably some.
Well, that's why you see Dell City probably in the East this year.
Yeah, that's and that's
played with it a little.
Seems like a wise choice.
Yeah.
You got the 3 Middale schools all in separate districts.
Right.
That's good for them. That's one thing we were talking about. Midwest City, everyone was like, well, I think they've lost 3 games. Well, the first 2 they lost were to Carl Albert and Dale City. Whew.
1 and 3 in 5A. So.
And then, of course, I guess El Reno got them, which is understandable. El Reno gets running that ball. They're tough.
Right.
So, and so that's probably good they were able to split them up. I think they've always done that. Growing up, it used to be that when I was in school, I went to Eisenhower and Lawton High was 6A and Mac was 5A. And so they would, try and work that out to where, no need to have both of those 6A schools in the same district and all that. Right. So I think they consider all that. Keep your rivalries as best you can, and we can develop new rivalries.
Yeah.
It'll happen with just kind of playing some teams over and over again.
Yeah, it is what it is. Sir, we're at the 34-minute mark.
Yeah, I need to get going.
Usually we do a final words, but since you're here, we'll go ahead and give you the final words, whatever you want to say, then we'll wrap it up.
I will say, and of course you'd expect every superintendent to say this, but I do mean it. So appreciative of our parents, our citizens. They do vote in support of bond issues. They do support the school. We get businesses, out here that support the school. Oklahoma Sports Network comes out. We do feel like a community out here. And so I'm so appreciative of that. Thank you so much for all the support. Thanks to you guys. Thanks for what you do at the school there, Coach Bean. It is just, I know your wife teaches up there. It's just it's a good feeling, and we want to keep that going.
Yeah.
We want to grow. But we want to make sure we retain our small town values. We want kids to behave. We want the order to rule the day so that we can teach your kids and get them out there on that field. I don't like all the stuff that as you get bigger, all this, you get into some nonsense sometimes. We want to stay away from that, We want to be a good, solid group of people that treat people right and act right. And I think that's another thing to say about you guys. You make our kids act right. And so we're beating you on the field, but we still got good kids.
Yeah.
And that means a lot.
Yeah.
And Vincent, thank you so much for all this. I mean, hey, I'm sitting here in your house. You don't have to be doing this, and it's a good feeling. I like it. So I appreciate everybody, and thank you so much for having me tonight.
Well, thanks for joining us, and we appreciate everything you do. Obviously, we're both fathers of Elgin students and things like that, so we appreciate everything that you and the entire administration is doing. And
we got to get this guy some OU stuff in here.
Absolutely not. Go Tigers. Nate, thanks for stopping by, man.
Coach, thank you. All right.
See ya.
Y'all have a good day.
You too.
We're back now. So when it comes to Midwest City, what's something that jumps off your mind there?
Well, I mean, just a gutty performance. Not the prettiest offensive performance. But if you look at the tape, I mean, we were a couple plays away from potentially putting up, 28, 35 points. So I mean, not exactly ideal when you look at the 13 points, but what can you say about the way the defense played? What can you say about the way special teams played? Colin Donnelly with some huge punts there at the end of the game to get them pinned inside their own 10-yard line there. So just a gutty performance, kind of a game we needed. Like I said, all year we've just kind of ran through opponents, so it's more than likely not going to be like that in the playoffs. So it's good to see how we reacted under some adversity, to go 4 quarters, to kind of play under some adversity, how we would play in crunch time in a big game and things like that. And they answered all those questions. So, I mean, with everything on the line. So district title, district champs, I mean, can't ask for anything better than that.
And what about our defense, man?
Shea with another pick six. And 28 total tackles for Colin Donnelly against Midwest City. Knocking helmets off, absolutely destroying people. At some point during that game, he kind of put the cape on and like I said, only averaging 25, 30 yards a punt on the season, but when he needed it most, he pinned him inside the 1-yard line. Then, again, he pins him inside the 5-yard line. So just kind of turned into a gamer. We've been talking about all year. He's kind of that alpha on the team. And when he saw, the offense wasn't quite doing some things, he kind of put that cape on and, like I said, 28 tackles and just did a phenomenal job and leading the defense. I mean, everybody on defense obviously played phenomenal with only giving up the 3 points against a very good football team. Yeah. But yeah, just kudos to him for like I said, just kind of putting on that cape and saying, "Hey, we're coming away district champs," and he did it.
Without being a homer too much, right?
Okay.
After the game,
I can't answer it.
I talked to Coach Hill, and Coach Hill looked me in the eyes and he said, "Hey, that's the best linebacker in the state." And I tried to look it up, and I don't see why he's not. You know what I mean?
And we'll touch on it a little bit as we kind of recap the season. But I mean, he's got 113 tackles on the season, 15 for loss, 1 sack, 3 interceptions, in the right place at the right time. Like I said, sometimes has to call the plays if Coach Baker's not able to get him in time or they're running something up tempo. I mean, everything that you want and need out of a linebacker, he does it. Not only with his physicality, but also his mentality and also the way he uses his mind in playing the game. And so, I mean, I'd like to find a better one out there. Like I said, I know we get to watch him every week, which is a joy. And then think about this. He's got a whole nother year with us, too. So that's going to be fun to watch as well.
Well, let's jump back to the beginning of the season.
Okay.
And the Darko. What was your thoughts on that?
Just overall, last year, talked about it all season. Last year, they kind of jumped up on us. So that was one thing we kind of had to worry about a little. We had everybody back. We knew what the expectations were. And then to finally see them on the field and seeing what this team could be capable of, it was just kind of an eye-opening night. I mean, what can you say? 76-0 was the final. I mean, handled everything exactly the way that we wanted to, created turnovers, had some explosive plays on offense. I mean, just an all-around great performance, and like I said, couldn't ask for a better start for both offense and defense. I mean, 76-0 is what it is.
Yeah, it's a good time. Okay, let's go ahead. We'll move on to Cash.
Cash, I mean, it's always a rivalry, so you never know what's going to happen in those games. I mean, Cash made it into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So a pretty good football team. They got better as the season progressed. So knew it was going to be a tough challenge, but again, took care of business both on the offensive, defensive, and special team side of the ball. And like I said, just kind of ran away with that one towards the end as well. But like I said, it's a rivalry game that never kind of like knowing what's going on. That kind of the tricky offense that Coach Griffin likes to run over there. But another great job, great performance, and couldn't ask for anything better.
Well, the next game was Weatherford, right? So I feel like there was a lot of people thinking this is like going to be our first test was Weatherford.
Yeah.
Okay, but Weatherford, I mean, it's 43-7. You know, we had a tough first half.
First half was a little sloppy. Probably the first, like I said, the sloppiest we had played up to that point in the season. Like I said, a lot of people, they hadn't seen a line as big as Weatherford's. They hadn't done this. They hadn't done that. And obviously answered the critics there and took care of business. So now you're 3-0 going into district play. Like I said, touchdown at the very, very end of the game to kind of get on the board for Weatherford. But offense, like I said, a little sluggish, a little slow. First half wasn't the greatest, but whatever was said at halftime, they came out and took care of business and kind of closed that one away pretty early in that fourth quarter. Yeah. So like I said, right where you wanted to be going into district play, 3-0. So couldn't ask for a better start leading up into district play.
The next team, I have so much joy anytime Elgin beats this team, El Reno. But I will say it started off a little tougher than I thought. Overall, it was 21-54. And actually, I'm rooting for them this week.
Yeah,
I mean, El Reno beats Carlisle.
Yeah, we love.
I would love nothing better is to meet them at a state final and beat them again.
Hey, if Nicholson can run the way he did against us, against MacArthur, not MacArthur, but against Midwest City and some of those guys, I mean, they've got a chance against Carlisle. But like I said, sloppy first half. Nicholson kind of ran all over us to a certain degree, but then you look up at the scoreboard and it was still 28-14 at halftime. Obviously, you look back at that first half. They get all the way down there, fumble. Matt Lund, first play of the game, goes 99 yards, just an incredible run. And then they're driving again to potentially tie it up, and Richy goes 90-something yards on the interception return for a touchdown. And like I said, as bad as we played and as nervous as we were with how they were playing, we were still up 28-14 at halftime. We only ran 13 offensive plays in that game. That game is going to remind you probably a little bit of this Piedmont game. Because of the way that El Reno likes to keep the ball on the ground. Piedmont does the same exact thing. So it may be a situation just like that one where we only have 15 to 16 plays in the first half. So we got to make sure that we take advantage of all of our possessions in this upcoming game. But it was good to play that type of game. Kind of put us on notice a little that, hey, we kind of ran through those first ones pretty easy. So it kind of put us on notice that, hey, it's a district play now. Things are going to be a little bit tougher. And like I said, they responded well in the second half. Obviously, Nicholson goes out, so that played a little bit into it. But still, when he was in, we were still up 28-14. And then we kind of finish that one off, and then we roll into being classless, bro. But hey, that's a whole other story.
By him going out, I mean, there's a reason why he went out too. There's only so much pressure you can take from our guys.
No, I agree.
100%. Next game is Ardmore game. Ardmore game was it's a drive. You know what I mean?
Drive.
Like Coach White's dad said, Wes, he said, at least we ain't coming from Altus. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of drive, but going up there, it was cool. The Ardmore coach, Josh Newby, so much praise from our coaches, from him, his standpoint, being a good guy, good coach, as Coach Cash will say, he's one of the good guys. So, and after the game, he was able to come up to us, and talk to the coaches. I heard him tell, Coach White, hey, go win one. You know what I mean? A really class act, for a head coach.
Well, and it was one of those games where you walk it in, you probably knew that you were going to win. But that's one of the first times that we realized we didn't really play that good, to be honest with you. But then you look up at the score, and I don't remember what the final was, but it was, 41?
42-7.
42-7. And I don't remember when they scored that touchdown towards the end. Yeah. And Coach White and I talked a little bit about it, like, look how far we've come as a program to not be happy with the way we played. We won 42-7.
Yeah.
And like I said, was a road trip, so it was good to kind of take that long road trip and then take care of business. And even though you didn't play great, you still were able to kind of take care of business and exert your will and whatnot. So that was another important game moving forward, because you saw that we could still score a lot of points even though we were sloppy at times.
Now, next game's Altus.
Yeah, kind of another one. I mean, we kind of had this stretch right here where we had Ardmore, Altus, and then the next one was Noble.
Yep.
Like I said, another one that we knew we probably we should handle on paper and watching film and things, and like I said, just came out and took care of business. We had been on the road for a little while, so it was good to be back home at that one. The next one was Noble.
76.
Yeah, I mean, that one kind of was circled because of the way things ended last year. Obviously, they beat us last year at their place. Things got a little, not chippy, but things were said on social media and whatnot.
Coach Wyatt working there. I mean,
Coach Wyatt working there also kind of played into that, but the Noble kids kind of made a little meme or something in the locker room after the game. So that was something that the kids kind of thought about and whatnot. So it was good. It was one of the only losses we had last year, so it was a good one to circle. And like I said, came out. It was a weird week too because it was during fall break, so things were a little bit different. I think we played on a Thursday night as well, so that made things a little bit more different, but handled all that adversity and made sure that they checked the box there and got that revenge game. So, like I said, right where we thought we would be after 6 games.
Yeah. Next game's Duncan. The overall score was 48-7. I feel like it was a lot tougher than I anticipated personally. But then you go back and look at their record. I mean, they lost some close games to some good schools. You know what I mean? They're
another one that wasn't. We didn't play very. We didn't play bad, but we didn't play great either. And another one after it was over, 48-7, and talking to Coach Wyatt and myself, we're going, we didn't play that good. We didn't play our best game. But like I said, went there, took care of business, did what we had to do, and come away with another victory.
And then the big one, Mac.
Yeah. I mean, what can you say about that one? I mean, that one was circled. Obviously, we had a good feeling coming into the year that there was a strong possibility we'd be 8-0. We thought there was potential they would be. They slipped up early in the year to Midwest City. So kind of knew that our schedule was backloaded as far as district goes. So we were glad we were able to get there at that 8-0. They got there 7-1 with the one loss in the district. So a lot on the line. Like I said, right up the road from us, right down 44. So kind of one of those potential rivalry games that we're going to have in the next couple years with the new district layout and whatnot. And just, like I said, started out a little slow, we talked about it last week, kind of a boxer's punches back and forth of what was going on there. And then wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And just absolutely unleash the power of our offense, our defense. I mean, like I said, you had that 21. You had Matt Lund with the great run. Then you had Mike with the pick 6, and then Josh with the fumble recovery. So 21 points in 55 seconds to go from 27-0 to 48-0 right before halftime. And I mean, just kind of put that one away, moving into the second half. And like I said, just a great all-around performance by all 3 phases. And like I said, just probably our best game of the year, the best that we looked and played against a quality opponent. So what can you say about that one? That one was fun.
Before we talk about Midwest City, I want to read off the honors and players of the game.
4 minutes, okay.
All right, so the BFB, Shea Spencer.
Black flag bearer.
Yeah.
Shea Spencer, I mean, what can you say about him all year? I mean, he is, from not playing much defense at all last year, and then moving from center to tackle. I mean, he just grew into a man this year. I mean, has really solidified that defense on the other side of Jack. I mean, we talked about Colin a little bit earlier being the best linebacker in the state. I mean, give me a better front 3 in the state than Jace, Jack, and Shea. But Shea has done everything that you could possibly imagine and more on the defensive side of the ball this year. We'll talk about some stats as we move forward here in a little bit. But, I mean, like I said, couldn't probably ask for a better person to lead us out there. And then obviously got it done on the field in that second quarter with the big pick 6 to get us on the board And like I said, again, it was kind of one of those games that was back and forth, kind of punching, everybody taking each other's jabs. And then teams are eventually going to stop running those inside screens against us, but they didn't yet. And Shea with the big pick this time got to go a little bit further and stiff arm the quarterback into the end zone for a big pick six. And that would be his second pick six of the year from a defensive end spot, which is kind of crazy to think about and say. But yeah, congratulations to him. And like I said, well-deserved to be that black flag bearer.
Hey, so what I'm going to do is we're here. I'm just going to read them off, and then we talk about Midwest City. You can plug the name in for certain things.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Practice player of the week, Sage Rush. We got the fourth captain of the week, Andre Crabtree.
Yep.
Now the player of the games, we got Matthew Lund for offense.
Yep.
Defense, we got Colin Donnelly. Special teams, we got Colin Donnelly. Sharp Your Action Award, Josh Adesola. And Rough Rider of the Week, Hudson Bailey. Now, let's talk about them when it comes to recapping last week's Midwest City game.
Yeah, I mean, Hudson Bailey, as Rough Rider of the Week, has done a phenomenal job filling in. Like I said, coming into camp, wasn't necessarily sure if he was going to be that guy. But then, like I said, after some unfortunate things happened or whatnot, he takes over there and hasn't skipped a beat. Has played well all year, started all 10 games as a freshman on one of the best offensive lines in the state, and well-deserved for him, and congratulations to him. But yeah, he's played phenomenal all year, and we're going to need a big game from him, obviously, this week again against Piedmont. Colin Donnelly, like I said, we talked a little bit about him when we first started, and I mean, the punts inside of the 10-yard line, 5-yard line there towards the end of the game were huge. So obviously, well-deserved there as far as the special teams player of the game. And then on defense, I mean, if you make 28 tackles in a game, you're doing something right, obviously. And then not only just the tackles, but I mean, I would say 5 to 6 of them were absolute slobber knockers, as they kind of say back in the day. And I mean, knock the kid's helmet off. I mean, and when you start doing that, I mean, that makes those running backs and quarterbacks and whatnot a little more tentative when they hit that hole. And so congratulations to him, but he's done a phenomenal job all year just as that alpha and as that guy in the middle that just like cleans up so many mistakes and does so many things right for us. And look forward to watching him play this week, and look forward to watching him for a whole nother year, which is a pretty cool deal to think about and play with. Josh has done a great job of filling in for Trey Harris. Trey Harris was having a great year until that unfortunate injury. Josh fills right on in and hasn't skipped a beat. Josh has, like I said, played phenomenal. Brody goes out earlier in the season for a little bit of a game. He plays safety. Trey goes out later in the season. He moves to corner. And like I said, having both Adesolas on the outside, both of them are playing very, very good football. Like I said, the preparation that Josh put in for this week to cover some of those good receivers was phenomenal to see. He had 9 or 10 tackles in the game too. So like I said, I mean, when things were happening his way, he was not allowing any run after the catch or anything like that. I mean, if he did allow the catch, then it was tackled right then and there. And like I said, we're going to need some big things out of both Adesolas as the playoffs move forward. But couldn't be more proud of him. Like I said, done a great job of stepping in and skipping a beat. And like I said, look forward, again, another junior. So look forward to kind of seeing what he can do in the playoffs as well. And then last but not least, Matt Lund. We talk about him just about every week. Yeah. Not many of the big shiny runs that you usually see from him, but that was one of those games where him being a much better running back this year came into play. There were times when, he was getting hit at 2 or 3 yards, but still would fall forward and pick up 6. And we get hit, 2 yards short of the line, 2 yards short of the first down, and was able to pick up that last first down, and things like that. So phenomenal year all year by him, but just another good, solid game by him. We talked about him. He's now the all-time leading rusher in school history. He's only 205 yards away from 5,000 on his career. So if we can get a game or two in, I think he gets that in the playoffs. So 5,000 in a career is pretty cool.
Hopefully he gets that Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love for him to get it in that one. But yeah, I mean, like I said, he's been our bell cow all year. He's had a phenomenal year, and hopefully somebody listening to this or watching our playoff games will understand that he can be a college running back. He's only got the one offer right now, and it's amazing to me. But hopefully those will start coming because somebody's going to miss out on a good one if they don't grab him up.
A couple things we didn't mention was the practice player of the week, Sage Rush.
Yeah. Sage, very good football player, and is going to probably be a good football player in the years to come. Might see him some this week. He's done well. He's done well, kind of filling in back there for Hunter and Brody, and might see him on the field some this week. So, congratulations to him. Fourth captain, Andre Crabtree. I mean, just one of those kids that you need on your team. Great work ethic, great kid, always in the right place at the right time, always, not a loud vocal leader or anything like that, but one of those kids that you just, like I said, need on your team if you're going to be a good team. And like I said, I mean, obviously the coaches understand that and made him that fourth captain on the last game of the season for the district title.
So moving on to next week, we got Piedmont, obviously. When it comes to Piedmont, I would like to start off there and kind of just look at the bracket as it fills out.
Yeah.
I talk about anything like eye catchers. For example, for me, I not only look at our side, I look at the other side, right? So obviously, we got to get through Piedmont.
Yeah, you got to get through Piedmont. Piedmont's probably going to be the toughest team that we play all year.
And Coach White kind of talked about this. I believe the first or second podcast he did with us, like, we might have a tougher first round than we will second round.
Yeah, yes. I mean, the way it looks on paper. I mean, that's why you play the game and all that kind of stuff. But no offense to any of our guys in our district. I mean, hey, look at it. Last year, our district went 0 for 4 against District 5A2, and we're matched up against that group again this year. So Piedmont's it's a different type of. They're running that flex bone. So anything can happen when you run that flex bone offense. I mean, defense is really going to have to be gap sound. They're going to have to really tackle well and not have their eyes kind of in the backfield, but making sure that they're reading their keys and doing what they're supposed to do on that end. Offense is going to have to take care of the football and maximize the possessions that they get. Because we might not get the ball but one or two times or so in the first half with the way that they run their offense. So going to be, like I said, they're big up front. They got a good number 10 running back and linebacker. He calls himself the Hammer. So kind of have given Colin a little information about him to see whose hammer might be bigger. But we'll see what's going on there with him. Like I said, probably going to be the toughest team that we play. But that's what you want to do once you get into the playoffs is kind of play the best. So, if we can get by them, we'll have another one at home. Claremore, Sapopolo, probably Claremore comes out on top on that one. It's a good matchup for us in the second round if we can get by Piedmont. Down on the left side, I mean, you got Del City and Pryor. Del City should probably take care of that one.
And Guthrie should probably handle MacArthur too, right?
Yeah, I would think so. At Guthrie. Guthrie's got some very good football players. MacArthur's got some good athletes on the outside. Guthrie had a little bit of trouble guarding some of those athletes on the outside from Carl Albert. So hopefully MacArthur can kind of make it a game, if not even push them to the brink of it. But I think that Del City and Guthrie come out of that one. So that'd be a crazy game there in the second round.
So let me touch back on that, though, real quick. I mean, before we jump to the other side. But I think, like you said, Del City and Guthrie, I feel like they should meet. And I feel like that's an interesting game, right? Like,
great game. I mean, you talk about number 2.
I can't pick a winner.
No, I mean, you talk about 2 and 3 in the state. I mean, in 4A, we're 4. Carl Albert's obviously number 1. It's going to be a great game. Guthrie is more of your physicality, sound on defense, sound on offense. Del City's more flashy, got better athletes on the outside and things like that. So it's going to be a good contrast of styles. Like I said, as we sit here today, I think maybe Guthrie comes out on top just because of they're so sound. But and watching them play last year against us, like I said, I mean, there was not a single snap on both offense or defense side of the ball where they were in a wrong position, where that could hurt Del City potentially. But outside of Carl Albert, Guthrie hasn't played the athletes that Del City has up to date either. So that one can go either way. If you had to ask me, I would say maybe Guthrie comes there. And then that sets us up. If like I said, if we can get past those first 2 rounds, that sets us up in the semis against those guys coming off of a slobber knocker type game. That game will be at a neutral site. So as soon as that's announced, and hopefully we're in it, we'll let everybody know as far as that goes. But they're playing a tough one that week before, so I mean that sets us up pretty good. I'd like to take another shot at Guthrie. I know the coaches want to take another shot at Guthrie, right. Be a little bit more sound in some of the things that we do. It sets up nicely for us to kind of meet either those guys or Del City there in the semis if we can get by Piedmont.
Let's move to the other side. Jumping at the top, we got Carl Albert versus their arena.
Yeah, Carl Albert, I mean, what can you say? I mean, you got 4 OU commits. You've got 2 others that are probably going to commit before the end of the year. So you're talking about 6, D1 commits. Very good at quarterback, very, very good at running back. Like I said, El Reno, if Nicholson is running and healthy, could present a little bit of a problem to him. Guthrie did run the ball on Carl Albert pretty good. Right. And so did Piedmont last week. Piedmont had Carl Albert on the ropes there. And some people had asked that question. It looked like looking at the film that I saw, looked like most of Carl Albert's starters were in there. So you can't hold anything against Piedmont. I know at one point people were like, oh, well, Carl Albert didn't play anybody because everything was locked up. But looking at the game, all OU commits were playing. So I would assume that the whole team was kind of playing. So if Nicholson gets running and moving, I mean, that one could be interesting. But ultimately, I think Carl Albert comes on top there. I think Coweta beats Collinsville.
I'm going with Coweta too. Everybody knows what I got to say about Collinsville, so we can talk about that. Bishop Kelly McAllister.
That one's going to be an interesting one. I think Bishop Kelly does win, but McAllister's a good football team. Usually is a really good football team, but I think Bishop Kelly does win that one. I think Midwest City beats Bishop McGuinness.
This is the matchup they wanted, right? Beat Piedmont by a certain amount of points or not beat them, right? If we beat them by more than 15.
If they would actually 11.
11? Okay.
So if we would actually made that extra point, and if we would have won 14-3, MacArthur would have moved into the 2 spot, and Midwest City would have moved into the 3 spot. Right. So Midwest City would have went to Guthrie. I don't think they wanted to do that. But I don't know if they wanted to play Piedmont. They did not match up good against Piedmont last year. They went up there and kind of got slapped around pretty good. So I think they're okay with playing Bishop McGuinness. Should be a great game. Could go either way, but I think Midwest City does find a way to win that one. They're going to use their physicality up front, I think, to win that one. And I think Carl Albert beats Coweta to get to the semis, and then I'm going to say Bishop Kelly beats Midwest City to get to the semis. Against Carl Albert on that side.
So you're thinking Bishop Kelly?
I'm thinking Bishop Kelly, Carl Albert, us, and Guthrie are the 4 semifinalists.
Well, I won't ever beat Carl Albert first round, so I'm going to go with that.
There you go. There you go.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I mean, it's playoff football, so I mean, anything and everything can happen. It's win or go home. A lot of these teams have kind of ran away with some of their games all season, so it's kind of one of those things where, like I said, that's why I'm glad we got that Midwest City game under our belt last week, where we kind of see what our team was like in 4 quarters and do some of that type of stuff. And then we got a couple stats for the kids for the year. Like I said, want to kind of congratulate them. One of the biggest stats, I mean, is as a team overall, we're scoring 51.9 points a game and only giving up 6.4. So pretty good little average there. Tackles, of course, Colin Donnelly leading the way with 113. Now this is through 10 games, kind of unofficial. Got some information from Jack Baker and kind of added them up. So might not be the exact numbers, but as close as we could get them. Like I said, Colin with 113 tackles on the year. Shea had 67 tackles. Jack from his other defensive end spot had 58 tackles. Ritson had 46. Jace had 47. Hunter Jackson had 48 tackles. Andre Crabtree, 51 tackles. Mike and Josh. Mike had 42. Josh had 39. Brody had 40 from his safety spot. Peyton had 39. Like I said, Ritson and Peyton only played 9 games compared to everybody else. But like I said, I mean, just great job on defense all year. I'm only giving up 6 points. And when you really think about it, here's another interesting and great fact and stat. We have not given up a passing touchdown all year. No team has thrown the ball and scored a touchdown on us through the air. Pretty phenomenal when you think about it 10 games in. And those 6 points that we're giving up, if you really think about it, only Duncan. So we've only given up 24 points on the year in the first half.
All right.
El Reno had 14. Midwest City had the field goal, and Duncan had the 7 points. So 24 points in the first half. So a lot of those touchdowns, I know Weatherford's was in the fourth quarter towards the end of the game. Cash's was in the fourth quarter towards the end of the game. Some of those were MacArthur's were both after we were up 62-0. So like I said, that 6 points is even kind of misleading a little because when you think about it, starters might have only given up 2 or 3 points a game, honestly, when you look at it. So just phenomenal job of defense all year. Tackles for loss. I mean, Shea Spencer has 19 tackles for loss. Colin has 15. Andre has 12. Jack has 13. Jace has 8. I mean, sacks, you're talking about Jack leading the way with 5. Shea has 4. Ritson has 3. So just a great job of the defense altogether. Colin leads the team in interceptions. We have 18 total interceptions on the year. Colin leads the team with 3. Then Brody, Hunter, Mike, Trey Harris, and Shea have 2. We have 6 pick sixes for the year. We have 18 total touchdowns, 6, so 33% of the time we return for pick six. Ritson had 1, Mike, Josh, Kaysen, and then Shea Spencer with 2 from his defensive end spot. Not often you hear that. On the offensive side of the ball, Trace, Laura, 85 for 126, completed 67% of his passes for 1,400 yards, 1,407, 28 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So great job there of not turning the ball over. Like I said, want to get that completion percentage probably up a little, but great job of him all year kind of being that game manager, game distributor. Big stats, obviously, Matt Lund, 1,561 yards on the ground, 17 touchdowns, 13 catches for 252 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So 23 total touchdowns for him. Like I said, 205 away from 5,000 yards rushing in his career. That's a big, big number right there. But like I said, 23 touchdowns on the year and over 250, so over 1,800 yards of total offense. Ritson's got 539 on the ground with 11 touchdowns, 115 catching and another touchdown, so 12 touchdowns on the year for Ritson. Trey Crabtree is actually our leading receiver with 18 catches for 504 yards and 6 touchdowns. Also has 2 touchdowns rushing. Mike is our second leading receiver at 14 catches for 258 and 5 touchdowns. And Brody's our third leading receiver with 10 catches for 182 touchdowns and 1 touchdown rushing. Peyton Christensen, Andre Crabtree, Adam Eaton, and Colin, both, all of those guys have 2 touchdowns receiving on the year as well. So just an all-around great performance by the kids all year. I mean, what can you say? I mean, we're 10-0. We're number 4 in the state. Have a good setup for the playoffs. But it's win or go home time now, so you've got to take care of business Friday night, or it's off or not. Expect a ton of people to be there. Expect it to be just as loud as it was for MacArthur, if not louder. Kids need you there. The team needs you there. The community needs you there. It'll be a fun time to be an Owl on Friday night. Go out. Woo!